I find with creativity, it's almost like there's all these like insular communities that,
Yeah.
you have to get to know the people. It's all relational. So like the the more the better you get at building relationships, the more likely you are to be
Yeah.
hired to do something.
I think that's quite hard for a lot of illustrators. Like, because I found that hard. Like, with my like autism has made that hard for me. Kind of like, I have a lot of problems like socially and kind of knowing what to say to people and what not to say to people. So that's made that hard over the years. Like, you can learn it a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think a lot of illustrators kind of struggle with that side, whether it's like that kind of thing, or like they're just kind of introverts and they just don't really
Mm,
want to go out and sell themselves so much. It's
yeah.
definitely people who are like a lot more confident and get a lot more work. And I definitely say like that's one of the things to work on, like alongside your portfolio, is just confidence, 100%.
I feel like that's something you can build though. Like for
Oh yeah,
myself, I'm an introvert as well by nature, but I
yeah.
kind of almost like unlearned a lot of the things that are naturally. But then it's also like learning to know, okay, there'll be moments where I just need to go into my cocoon and, just watch Netflix and chill or
Yeah.
something. And so you create these like systems for yourself. So you're like, okay, high energy for this amount of time, and then I can like hibernate and
Yeah, exactly.
recover
Yeah.
and all those things
Yeah,
that
like
introverts
you,
need.
you don't need to be like on it
Yeah.
100% all the time. Yeah, it's definitely something you can learn. Like I've gone through that over the years. It's just you just need to kind of you need to be prepared to be like awkward and embarrassed a little bit, like not worried about it, and just I also find that like when I've seen people doing talks that are obviously not massively confident,
Mm.
I've liked that talk a lot more when someone's like really polished and comes up on stage and they're like real, like, just a real like smooth. I kind of prefer the person that kind of fumbles around a little bit and doesn't really know what to say. I feel like it's really authentic and like so yeah, so I feel like a tip to people would be like, if even if you feel like embarrassed and you feel like you sound silly or like you're not doing a very good job, I feel like there's a lot of people who relate to that and
Mm.
find that really interesting. There's a lot of people who prefer the person doing the talk who's like real smooth and polished, but obviously like a load of other people who'll be watching and going like, oh, I wish I could go up on stage. Like that's exactly how I'd speak on stage, and like it's probably quite inspiring to people. I feel like that's the whole reason a lot of people like watch YouTube stars and stuff now, is because they're a bit more normal and relatable rather than
Mm.
watching someone like presenting a TV show who like you feel like, yeah, who are they? Because someone on YouTube is kind of a bit more like a friend of yours who you're kind of watching them. Um, yeah, I feel like it's good to do that. Just not worry about it too much and just be prepared to feel embarrassed, go home, get into bed, not come out for 2 days.
I think it's almost like finding the middle ground between the two of like not being like super polished so that you're like unrelatable, but at
Yeah,
the same time not being so stumbling that it distracts from what the potential of what you have to say and the impact of what you have to say. It's
yeah,
almost like the middle ground between the two, and finding the balancing act of that.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
Speaking of learning, what is one piece of advice that you would maybe give yourself or a young illustrator who is coming up in the world?
Um, oh, that's a good question. I would say like not don't worry about your qualifications and stuff.
Mm,
Don't, and that doesn't just mean like qualifications you got from studying. It just means like even if you don't think you've got like the experience to approach like a brand and stuff, just don't give a crap about it. Just approach them anyway, and just like if your work is good, people will kind of employ you for it. And, like if you like self-studied or you haven't been to university or like you don't even have like high school qualifications or anything, don't worry about that. If you like feel like you're overqualified for the job, don't worry about that either, and just I guess like go for things if you think you can do them,
mm,
and just don't worry about, yeah, like it doesn't matter like if you're class or race or like what, and anything. Like, just don't give a crap about any of that and just approach people anyway.
Yeah. So like almost like be confident in your abilities and just go for it.
Yeah. So I think I've seen a lot of people like that who are kind of worried that they're maybe not good enough or not established enough, or maybe they feel like they're too established to work with like a smaller brand, and like they'll be just go for it anyway, I think.
Do you think that has something to do with a layer of imposter syndrome, and have you ever faced that, and how did you deal with that, if you did?
Oh yeah, loads. I face that all the time, but I think the way to do it is like not thinking about things too much, and then writing an email and just sending it, and forgetting about it, and just like write it down so you can maybe chase it up at some point. I just think because I've dealt with that loads. Like even now, I'll think like, oh, what can I do? What can I do for this company that will kind of help them out? And you're like, I haven't really done any work like that before, so like I'm not really sure how I could kind of pitch this to them. I think if you don't pitch it to them, they're definitely not going to get back to you. They're not going to just email you out of nowhere. So yeah, I think just not worrying about it, not worry about it, because it's impossible to not worry about something if you are worried about it. But just think like someone else who's like worse than you but has more confidence is emailing that same company like today, and they might get the work that you're probably more suited for. So just email anyway and see what happens. And if the company doesn't want you, they won't pay you for it. If they make the decision that your work is good enough, then they'll pay you for it. So let them make the decision, I guess.
I suppose I like to ask myself the question, what's the worst that's going to happen? You know, like the world's not going to explode.
No one's going to send people to your house to like beat you up because you emailed.
Like the worst is, nobody replies, or the job doesn't go forward. And keeping that in mind and taking yourself a little lightly